Well, hello everybody. How are you doing today? I certainly hope that each and every one of you are doing very well. I'm doing very well myself. And I tell you what, I'm certainly glad to be back with you again today. And of course, I would like to say thank you for tuning in to me. As always, I really do appreciate it. And I definitely would like to welcome all of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. And as you know, I am TJ. Certainly glad to be with you again today. And I missed last weekend because, as you know, it was Super Bowl Sunday. And I think that the majority of the world was tuned in to CBS watching the San Francisco 49ers get their butts whooped by the Kansas City Chiefs. And what a good game it was. And not only was the game good, but so was the halftime show. I think that Usher did a very good job, as well as Alicia Keys and her and Ludacris and everybody else who appeared on stage with Usher. It was good. And of course, you know that there are haters out there. We find them everywhere we go. And that's fine. But we're not going to dwell on them. We're going to keep on pushing and try to enjoy life to the best of our ability because you know we're only here for a minute. And that minute, it goes by just like that. And you know, actually, that's part of what leads me into today's topic. And this is actually a topic that I was trying my best not to address because, you know, when it comes to issues pertaining to death and someone's eventual passing, you know, when they make their transition from this life, oftentimes people become very uncomfortable with the subject. Well, I, for one, don't think that we should find death or anything pertaining to it as unpleasant because it's going to happen. You know, I mean, we didn't come here to stay. We're all just passing this way for a brief moment. And therefore, we should learn how to, number one, appreciate everything we have while we have it. Be grateful for the people that we have in our lives while we have them. And to not get so bent out of shape over little trivial things. You know, because we got a lot of things out here that are going on, you know, politically and economically and socially and you name it. And people, a lot of times, they find themselves becoming very bitter and upset over these little things. Well, that's actually what I want to talk about today because there are so many people that I know, and a lot of you know as well, who have left this world mad over unnecessary junk. And you wonder, how in the world could they allow themselves to be so angry and bitter and frustrated over something that they really couldn't do much about, if anything? But they did. And they paid the price for it too, unfortunately. So that's my subject for today. Sending people to their grave upset. That's what I want to talk about for a few minutes. sending people to their grave upset. And if you're like me, you probably know a number of individuals who have left this world in that very shape, upset at something or somebody, because somebody did them wrong, somebody lied on them, somebody was talking bad about them, mistreating them, abusing them. I mean, the list goes on and on. There are a multitude of things that can happen to people to cause them to be upset. And sometimes that bitterness and that frustration that they experience, sadly, it leads them to an early grave. And we hate to see things like that happen to people, but sometimes it does. And you have to wonder sometimes, do people bring death upon themselves? You know, they stay mad at everybody. They always get mad about some of the smallest issues. And me, you know, I have had an encounter with numerous people over the years who had severe anger problems. They always seem to fly off the handle over any little thing. And then I also experience bouts with, you can call it clairvoyance. It's not really clairvoyance per se, but I've had several experiences where I have been given a forewarning of someone's impending transition. I don't know how many of you out there have had that experience. You may have received the knowledge and the information through a dream, or perhaps a vision, or a premonition. Well, I've had those experiences. And everything that I saw regarding a person's impending transition came to pass exactly as I saw it. And then there were those people, some of them, who before they left this world, they were mad at somebody, or perhaps they were upset with me over something, usually a misunderstanding of some sort. You know, I could go into detail about a lot of things regarding people being upset and mad on their way to their grave. But I just, as I think about it, I have these flashbacks sometimes where I can see, different scenarios playing over and over again. It's like, say if you're sitting there watching TV, you may be watching anything on television, even watching something on your phone, on YouTube or anything. And if you watch it long enough, the images that you see, they have a way of taking root in your mind. And if they stay in your mind long enough, depending on what those images are, they may begin to slip into your spirit or your consciousness, and they'll take root and they'll set up there. And so it is with the various memories that we have of things that have happened to us in the past, and people whom we've encountered, some of whom were those who, you know, spent a great deal of their lives being mad at folk and upset over just little petty junk. But one day, those people closed their eyes and they departed this life. And you have to wonder, did they have any forewarning of their impending transition? And if they did they do anything or say anything to anyone to try to make peace with that individual or those people whom they may have hurt along the way? Because, you know, you have people who they say a lot of things and they do a lot of things in their lifetime, and they feel as if they are not hurting anybody. You know, they ruffle a lot of feathers. They rub people the wrong way, thinking that none of it is going to ever come back to haunt them. But we have to be careful what we dish out, because whatever we dish out towards others, eventually it's going to find its way back to us. And usually it'll be a little worse coming back than it was when it went out. So I just want you to think about that as you go throughout this week. Think about the people whom you have been acquainted with throughout your life. You know, it may have been a family member, a friend, neighbor, co-worker, classmate, someone whom you have gone to church with or currently go to church with. Whomever you have had an encounter with in the past, just think back to how they were. Think about their personality. Think about their attitude. Think about how they used to talk to folks sometimes and how they treated people, how they look down on folks, you know, because you have those who tend to look down on others who come across as less fortunate, who don't have as much, who are not where they feel those people should be in life. They tend to shun them. And they spend their entire lives being pissed off at everybody for every little thing, mad at the world for no reason, because people are not living the way they feel they should be, not doing the way they feel they should be. And they get mad about that. And if they're not careful, they will leave this world mad. And then when they face their life review, when they cross over to the other side, they will see all of the mistakes they made in being mad and harboring anger and bitterness towards whomever it was that they despised, all the people whom they rejected, based usually on external things that really didn't amount to anything. And they were just highly pissed. I tell you, life is too short for folks to be walking around here being mad all the time, you know, and being frustrated and I'm talking about just, life is too short for that. I mean, just as soon as we enter this world, almost in the blink of an eye, we are exiting this world. That's just how brief our moment on this planet is. Therefore, we ought to try to find joy peace and happiness and everything we possibly can. And I feel that if we do that, it will help to propel us to a greater level. And we'll be better off in the long run. So those are my thoughts. Have you sent anybody to their grave upset? Well, I have to admit that, well, though it wasn't intentional, I sort of sent someone to their grave upset. It wasn't anything that I did per se, but it was a misunderstanding. It was a parent, by the way, my biological father, and he was mad at me throughout the final 3 years of his life. He stayed pissed off at me over something that I said that he misunderstood. And I let him know that I didn't mean any harm by it. But he never understood where I was coming from. And I apologized to him for it, but he seemed to never really come around anymore after that and accept my apology or forgive me or anything. And it wasn't anything, I didn't mean any harm by it. But to make a long story short, 3 years later, he closed his eyes and he left here pissed off at me. But hey, it's over with now. So, and I would hate to see that happen to anyone else out there, regardless of who it is. So tell me what you think. Have you seen anybody go to their grave upset? Or have you sent anybody to their grave upset, knowingly or unknowingly? And feel free to leave your comments, and I would be glad to read them and reply. Thank you so much for tuning in to me and watching this episode of TJ's Topics. I really do appreciate it. And please join me again next time when I will have something else good to talk about. And believe me, there is no telling what that something will be. So until then, this is Taryn Jerome Harris, reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.